This simple farming sim scooped up 21 million concurrent players, which is shockingly more than Fortnite ever did for the same hour. This must sound like an exaggerated clickbaity thing to say, but even to my surprise, it's absolutely true. So now, I'm sure you're wondering, what's GAG or Grow a Garden, and why is it so popular all of a sudden? Grow a Garden is a very simple farming simulator. You start off with the field, and your goal is to make a proper garden out of it, which the name already implies. The beginning is very humble, as you have very little money and mostly an empty garden. But you can sell your fruits and vegetables for in-game currency and then use that currency to expand further and buy more things. The more you play, the more successful you become. There is pretty much nothing complicated in the game that comes in later, and no twists and turns either. What you see is what you get. There is no shortage of successful video games today, whether it's mostly single-player experiences like Black Myth Wukong, or a game with online capabilities like Fortnite. We often see concurrent player counts as high as millions of players hopping onto a game at the same time. But even at the highest we've had for Fortnite in the same hour has been no more than 14 million players, which is pretty much a record-breaking turnout, and yet a simple Roblox game like Grow a Garden first caught everyone's attention by reaching 5 million concurrent players on May 17th, and then grew to 8.8 million players during an event on May 25. And if that wasn't a lot already, it reached 16.4 million not long after, and eventually a massive record was achieved in June this year as it got up to 21.3 million players. Not only is this a number that puts most AAA video games to shame, but it's also something that is going to be very difficult to beat, because even the most successful games usually get a turnout based on 24 hours. Having all these players on the very same time is very rare. Another major thing to note here is that the publications such as Investor Business Daily and Motley Fool have stated that the game has led to a recent rise of 21% growth in Roblox stock prices, which is insane. We all have the same question now. How on earth is this extremely simple farming game on Roblox of all places giving intense competition to AAA games with tons of variety and made with millions on the budget? The answer is not complicated whatsoever. The game's simplicity is exactly what makes it so successful, and here's why. It's a game that anyone can get into. No skill gap, very easy to start. Whether you're a child, adult, or even an elder person, the gameplay is very relaxing, casual, and therapeutic, and does not require hours and hours of grind to get good at it. You can play as much as you want and then come back another time. The game has a broad demographic. It's not an action PvP game that only those who would like action would play, nor is it like a girly game about running fashion shows or restaurants. Instead, everyone likes fruits, vegetables, farming, and two different people who wouldn't play each other's favorite games mind up playing this one anyway. Like most successful live service video games, Grow a Garden sees updates and events often, which keeps the players interested as the content keeps changing, and this also gives rarity to event-specific items that go away later, so people feel invested in making sure they don't miss anything. Besides the simplicity and constant updates, another selling is the game's offline growing mechanic. Everything that you plant in your garden grows in real time, which means that whether you wait for it to grow while you're playing the game or go offline, it will take its time in either case. Due to this, players feel an incentive to return to the game every time, as this mechanic feels like a hook. You can't just work on your garden and go away for a week thinking you'll return when you feel like it. Instead, you keep thinking about your garden growing while you're away, and then go back to make sure that you don't let it go to waste. It's a very simple yet effective technique. The game was first created by a 16-year-old teenager from their bedroom in roughly 3 days, who goes by the username BMW Lux. We don't know too much about the personal life of BMW Lux because he stays anonymous, which is a good decision since too much fame at an early age can be difficult to deal with. The highest player count it reached in the beginning was a mere 1,000 players at a time, and this got the attention of Splitting Point Studios, who ended up buying a share of the game in April. According to Splitting Point, the original developer still holds 50% of the game's shares, and this eventually grew further as Roblox game development company called Do Big Studios came into the picture and held a minority share. It's the ultimate rags to riches story, especially given how young the original developer of the game is, and now they happen to own a big chunk of one of the biggest games of 2025. Since the game grew a lot and started breaking one record after another, there are now 2 dedicated teams that work on the game's event development to ensure that new content is added on a timely basis to keep players invested. Splitting Point manages most of the things, while Do Big Studios mainly manages things like polishing, UI, and stability, and they have also been attributed to adding monetization to the game, which some consider a bit too fast, especially since the game includes loot boxes as well. But it's undeniable that all 3 of developing sources here come together to create a very healthy ecosystem that creator manages what direction the game takes, Splitting Point manages events and making the game bigger, and Do Big Studios ensures that it stays polished and that all of the major decisions can be monetized in one way or another, which is important for any game of this scale. Even though microtransactions and monetizations of free-to-play games has become such a normal thing for video games today, it's still something that people don't like hearing about in their favorite games. So the concern does get raised in the case of Grow a Garden as well. Does its monetization make it a pay-to-win? Fortunately, the free-to-play model of Grow a Garden is not a sham, which is another thing that contributes to its success. While spending Robux in the game helps you get cool pet companions, better seed packs, cool cosmetics, and lets you speed up plant growth, it's all entirely optional. Thousands, if not millions of people enjoy the game for completely free and do not feel forced to spend money on it. It feels like a light and tasteful if you're not interested in spending any real-world cash on the game, which is a breath of fresh air compared to predatory mobile games that we normally see. Roblox games usually come and go, even when they're super popular. They kind of remain a niche topic that you'd only discuss with other players who play Roblox games. However, with the immense success of Grow a Garden, it's not a surprise that it actually broke into the mainstream. As I briefly mentioned already, the game's finance is being reported by publications such as Investors Business Daily, and it even contributed to an overall growth of Roblox shares. But it doesn't stop there. Pretty much every known publication website on the internet already has it covered, such as PC Gamer, Pocket Gamer, Eurogamer, BBC, The Times, GameRat, and so on and so on. The list continues to grow, and you're more likely to run into an article about this game right now than more clickbait titles such as Rockstar revealing GTA 6's release date in a bathroom mirror of a random pub in the UK, specifically at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. Of course, no matter how good something is, perfection is impossible. The game does have a few hiccups, which can be attributed to the game has been accused multiple times of using bots to inflate its numbers, and some players are accused of botting to obtain every event-specific item, since they become rare later and can even be sold for real-world money to other players, even though this goes against the rules of Roblox. There is a lot of lag experienced by players because the game's servers are not very good at the moment, and you also have to wait in queue sometimes. Other players can steal your plots, which seemed like a funny mechanic at first, but can get pretty annoying at times. While I personally find the monetization fair, some people do dislike it, which is to be expected of any game with microtransactions in it. Of all the problems though, the bot allegation has been debunked multiple times by Roblox itself, as well as the people who run the game. Even if the bots do exist, games like Fortnite use bots as well to fill emptier servers despite its massive player base, so it's not something that automatically ruins the game. But the other complaints are here to stay. since the game is too big to demonetize now, and the server lag will most likely continue due to how many play it concurrently. But for millions and millions of players, these issues are very much ignorable, as it continues to grow every day for now. 2025 is a time in the video game industry where hundreds of millions of dollars are being wasted down the drain for games like Concord, and Suicide Squad killed the Justice League with little to no profits made back, thank God, and then studios are shut down and thousands of jobs are axed. Even a major company like Microsoft is seeing insane layoffs in the Xbox department, which is absurd for a company that deliberately bought out all the studios that it's shutting down now. So at a time like this, an extremely simple and low-effort video game like Grow a Garden, developed out of a bedroom in 3 days by a teenager, having concurrent player count that makes up a world record sends a very important message for the entire video gaming industry. Major studios are starting to lose touch with what players want. They are overcomplicating their games and live service models while missing the mark with what players want with such games, which is an addictive but simple gameplay loop, community content, and monetization that can be ignored. And they should most certainly take a note out of Grow a Garden's book before we can head towards another crash. Grow a Garden is something we all can learn from. For gamers, you don't need the fanciest graphics to have fun, nor does it have to be the next big AAA release to matter. Something as simple as a gardening sim can be the next game that you sink dozens of hours into, even if you don't have to spend $70 for it. Not only that, but you should keep trying to achieve your dreams, because if a teenager can take over the world by storm with 3 days worth of effort, some ingenuity, and a whole lot of drive, so can you. For developers, big budgets don't guarantee love. Looking at you, Concord. Neither does chasing industry trends. Concord. Sometimes you just need community, care, and charm. Concord has none of those, and an understanding of what gamers really want. You don't have to make the next Grow a Garden, but you can make something else, and make it successful. In any case, the game is here to stay. While its hype might die down the next few months, it's easy to see that it's going to still maintain a decent player base that continues to keep it alive. And who knows, they might release a non-Roblox version of the game later down the line and compete with the likes of Story of Seasons / Harvest Moon. For more content like this, subscribe to Microwave Joystick.